it.
Yeah,
If they don't do it again.
New York. Remember New York? What they did with New York during the whole crack, the whole drug era. What was that? The 1980s.
1990s.
It was
with Giuliani's era.
It was when crack was huge.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, New York. They left it. It was a war zone. Okay. It was just left. They left those people to rot. And you know what they did? They created a train. It's the train that goes right through Brooklyn. They created a train so that people living in the suburbs could go right through New York, through Brooklyn, so they didn't have to see anything that was going on there, and they could get to the city.
Yeah. What's happened to it? What's happened with that? I mean, has that changed?
I mean, that's changed, but that's a cultural thing. Kids are coming in now. I mean, it's I guess it's like the hipster.
But Malcolm, you raise a point, right? I got an education.
Sure.
You got an education.
Okay.
You go into corporate America, right? How does the discrimination stop now that I've given you an education, right? I've given you the tools to go out there, and now you go into corporate America.
Okay.
And you face some of the same barriers that I faced. And that my mother faced, who was less educated than me.
Okay.
And who my mother's mother faced, there was no education at all. So how does that change anything? Because I've said, okay, I'm educated now. You are educated now. Your kids are going to be educated, and then go out into the corporate America and go out into the world that works. However, the guy who is in charge still has the same philosophy.
But listen, everything moves with everything changes with time. The same person can't be in power forever, Dad. Unfortunately, the only thing's guaranteed in life is death. So someone's gonna have to move from power. That's how things change. Nothing has been exactly the same. History does tend to repeat themselves, but there's ups and downs. There's changes. A black president was president. There's always things that are going to change. So the same person can't be in power forever, unfortunately. What I will say is that the advantage that someone has now who's been down a chain of an educated family is now they're less intimidated in corporate America. Yeah. I mean, being educated is one thing. Knowing how to speak, knowing how to move yourself around corporate America is a whole other thing. So they're educated, and there's people who are white, black, Asian, doesn't matter. They recognize that you're educated. They can try and look down on you, but education is a very powerful thing, you know? So if they want to look down on you, they can. But I mean, if you're educated, you're educated. There's nothing you can there's nothing really you can take away from. You can't take that away from you.
But Malcolm, you could be educated and you can be still discriminated against.
Sure.
You know, because what it is that you can go to corporate America and they can see, you know what, man, I feel Malcolm is he is. I don't know if I could trust him with being a manager. Because there's a possibility if I put him in manager, he might bring in a whole set of black folks in here. You know, and this whole department.
They say that about,
this whole department might become a bunch of people of color. So but however, Dalton looks like if I put him in that position, he's just going to go in that position and stay in that position and be happy with himself in that position and not bring anyone else up. So I feel more comfortable putting Dalton in that position.
I think to an extent.
Than putting Malcolm in that position.
To an extent, that's an old-time thought.
You think so?
I think it's to an extent, I said. It's an older way of thinking. I'm not saying that way of thinking is waning away or fading away. What I'm saying is that, like I said about everything else in America, the most important thing is money, right?
Yeah. You're right.
If you're if you're black and you're bringing in money, and you bring someone else who's black, and they're bringing in money,
they're happy.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Money talks.
No, I agree with you.
It doesn't matter.
But Malcolm, if you in a job that doesn't bring in money, however, it makes the company look better. It's not that it's like you're not a person that's bringing in money, but you make the company look better. But the boss is saying, you know what, man, I don't know if I could take a chance on Malcolm and giving him that position. Because, people think about that too, Malcolm. Remember, I sat in those corporate boardrooms for quite some time.
Of course.
And they look at it and they say, you know what? I think he's too aggressive. You know, he's more educated than all of us. You know what I used to tell the people that I work with? I said, I went and get an MBA so I could compete with people who have a associate's degree. That's a 2-year degree.
Okay.
I went to get an MBA so I could compete with people who have an associate's degree. You know, because at that point in time,
that high to,
I have to be that high to compete with people this low. Yeah. You know, because when they look at me, first thing they look at or they listen, they hear, oh, he's got a little accent. So right away, that's one strike. He's got a little accent. You know, so no. The accent all of a sudden is that you can see people like, you know, people like looking over, you know, you listen with your ears, not with your face. You know, you talking to someone, they're like, you already know. So what I'm saying is that I hear your points, you know, but sometimes we have people that are entrenched in corporate America, and it takes a lot to change their behaviors. Of course. You know, and education is the key. But you know, Malcolm, also.
It's the key, but it's also, at this point in time, I would also warn you that education right now may not be the key.
Oh, there you go.
So
there you go. Go ahead.
Again, we touched on that earlier.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier.
I don't want you to take what I say and run with it.
No, we weren't going to run with it because we touched on that.
Okay.
Because, Malcolm, we were talking about the South Orange Maplewood School District, and we talked about this. In all the lower levels at Columbia High School, it's the kids of color. So in the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, I'm in level 2 or level 3, right? And then all of a sudden, I go to the 12th grade, they tell me I got to take the SAT. So if I got to take the SAT now, there's a great possibility if I'm in the lower levels, when time comes for me to take that SAT, how am I going to score? How am I going to score on that SAT? There's a great possibility I'm not going to do good. Now, the South Orange Maplewood School District.
There's a good possibility you're not going to do well because the SAT is pretty uniform. There isn't level 1, 2, 3, or 4 for SATs. So what I mean is that if you're in level 2, your entire high school career, there isn't going to be a level 2 test for the SATs.
Well, right, exactly.
It's uniform, so
right.
Everyone's taking it. So obviously, there's going to be an advantage for those who are in level 4.
Right, an advantage.
Under the assumption that those people in level 4 are smarter.
Right. No, Malcolm, I used to say in this school system, and we're going to get ready to wrap up just. I used to say in this school system that we had 2 school systems, separate and unequal. It was a segregated school system. And people say, oh, and they all, in this community, people taught diversity. They was like, oh, you ask someone, why do you move to South Orange and Maple? They said, oh, because of diversity. I love the diversity in South Orange and Maple. It's the best. I cannot find it anywhere else. However, when it comes to the school system, and you're talking about level 4 honors classes and AP classes, they don't talk about diversity. That's a little different. We don't want to talk about diversity in that. It's a little different. You know, so the school system just got sued because of all the kids of color that were in the lower levels, and the gifted and talented program was predominantly white. The honors classes were predominantly white. The AP classes were predominantly white, and the school district got sued. And in short.
Wait, did the verdict come out already?
Yeah, they settled. The school system settled. It didn't even have to. Listen, it took them maybe a week or 2, and the school system said, "Oh, yep, you're right." The Department of Justice, and the U.S. Department of Education, you're right. What do you need us to do? What do you need us to do? So what I'm saying is that.
So what's happening now?
They're now reinventing everything. They're looking at everything now. They're looking at all the levels. They're looking at the gifted and talented program. They're looking at honors, and they're looking at AP. So think about it. For all these years, all these kids of color that were in those lower levels, and then they send them off to college unprepared. Some of them dropped out because they were unprepared. Right? That's what the system did to them. That's what the system did to them. And 15 years later, the system said that, oh, you know what? Yeah, we made a mistake. U.S. Department of Education, you caught us with our hand in the cookie jar.
Brown versus Board of Education.
Yeah, that was But you know what? that changed much, but it really didn't change a lot. It was like a decision that was made, right? And everybody had it. But we go back to business as usual. And we're going to close with this story. With him, they wanted to put him down in a lower level, level 3. That's the level where the teacher says, now, Dalton, go to page 6. You hear me, Dalton? And he called me screaming, Dad, I can't take this. No, this is. And the reason why the teacher wanted to put him in a lower level, because she said he was giving the answer to someone else in the class. He was giving an answer to, and I knew the type of person he was. And I went and I fought him. But you know what? And this is, I'm going to close with this for these parents. You got to be involved in the school system. Yes. I knew the principal personally because I was involved. So the teacher told me, oh, I'm not changing it. He's going on to level 3. I said, okay, all right, whatever. I went to the principal. I said, Dr. Pollock, the teacher said she wants to put my son down to level 3. And that's not, Anselm, don't worry about it, Anselm. I'll take care of it. Everything is going to be fine. He stayed in the class. Because I was involved and I was not going to allow the system to destroy the male kid of color. Because I knew if I wasn't involved, there's a great possibility the system might do that. So it's been a pleasure. Malcolm, any closing words? You're very good, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, my son. As a matter of fact, I'm getting texts, Malcolm, telling me how good you are. Look at that. He's right. Guys can't take away education. Look, people are texting me, sending me text messages. So I'm proud. I can say I'm your dad.
I think it's just common sense. I don't think any of what we spoke about is anything that's surprising. It's nothing that
to you is common sense. To you.
Well, I guess common sense isn't that common these days.
There you go.
It's not surprising. It happens from this talk show to boards with the chief of police to government meetings with the president. I mean, it's all the same.
But you know what, Malcolm? We need people to start talking about it more, because the mainstream media is not going to talk about it. Yeah. Because they got to pander to certain people, so they're not going to talk about certain things. They're not going to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. They think that I'm going to sell ads if I call a person a thug. They be like, did you hear what they call him? Did you hear what they say Richard Schumann? Did you hear what they call Ray Rice? Did you hear what they say to Adrian Peterson? Right? There is no other media to combat the negative media that's portrayed on people of color. There is nothing out there publicly. Nothing. Zero. So when you portray Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, and it goes down the line, and even black people look at it, yeah, that Adrian Peterson, he's a child abuser. That's ridiculous. Did you see how he abused that 4-year-old? Because they saw it on Fox, they saw it on CNN, saw it on CBS, ABC, MSNBC, and they see it on some cable channel as well. And then they go to YouTube and they see it again on YouTube. So all over, they bombard you with these negative perceptions, and you start to believe it, and then you start to repeat it. Any closing words, Dalton?
I hope there's change ahead. I don't know where it's going to come from, but we do need to change education system, job system, and the and the prospect for people to move forward and have a good life.
So there you go. From where I sit, this is it. The clock on the wall said that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent. And before we go, I got to give you the Soma quote of the day. We always give them the Soma quote of the day. We cannot go without giving the people